All right, good. I finally got it to go live. Wouldn't go live. It kept getting. All right. I have two American blended whiskeys for this taste challenge. They're both 80 proof and they're both bottled in Kentucky. This is Beam's 8 Star. This is a 2014 bottle. So the specs have changed on it from this time to today. This bottle is showing 75% grain neutral spirits, 25% straight whiskey, no age statement, so it's aged at least 4 years, distilled and bottled by Kentucky Springs Distilling Company, Claremont and Frankfort, Kentucky. All right, USA. I got this for $9. It's a liter bottle. I bought it at Star on Louisiana Highway 23 southbound in Gretna, Louisiana. All right. And that's a highway that goes down and has a dead end at the Gulf of Mexico. So you can go north to other connections, but south there is no connection unless you get on a boat and continue on. All right, here's Classic Club American Blended Whiskey CC trademark, but I could never find out the trademark date when it was first used in commerce. So I don't know when it was introduced. Barrel matured. Well, it makes sense because by law, all whiskey has to be matured in a barrel. So that's sort of a meaningless statement. The current Beam's 8 Star is 80-20 blend ratio and 80-20 blend ratio. So they dropped the percentage of straight whiskey and it's only aged 2 years now. So they have, if you want to say, cheapened it. This one is 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskey, aged 36 months, 3 years, from I.W.A. Distilling Company Limited. And I bought this at Total Wine and More. And if I go to Walmart, they also sell I.W.A. Distilling Company Limited products. Somebody told me that stood for International Wine Associates, but he didn't provide any corroborating evidence. Price, it was about $15.99 for this bottle, $14.99, $15.99, something like that. It fluctuates. They still have it in stock to my knowledge. Okay, they're both kind of tan, not really copper, like amber. Yeah, they're clear though. So price, not an issue. Availability is an issue. It's spotty. I've never seen these in my town on the shelves. So you go closer to New Orleans, yes, you'll see it here and there. It's not like Seagram 7 Crown that's in every liquor store. It just depends. There's like hundreds of American blended whiskey brands, and it depends, when the stores look through that sales sheet or sales web page from the distributor, they'll pick what they want. Well, you say, well, that's the same with bourbon and rum and brandy and gin and vodka and tequila and mezcal. That's true. They pick what they figure they could sell. Obviously, they can't stock it all. Can't stock every spice canister. Can't stock every type of barbecue sauce. All right. Now, I want to break this losing streak. 4 losses in a row. I guess the Detroit Tigers felt that way last week, but they probably felt a lot worse than I do because that was a bad losing streak. But now they seem to be back on track. Seem to be. But these are so similar. Tab says, too bad Dave isn't here to complain about something. Well, what is this t-shirt he wears that says grouchy or something? Everybody's got different personality, different demeanor, but what can you do? Well, yeah, actually, you can do a lot of different things, I suppose. Okay. He's very interested and enthusiastic about beer, wine, and liquor. Well, not wine, beer and liquor. He gets wine for people that visit. But so you get different personalities. I definitely deal with I definitely would much rather deal with complaining and that kind of business than some of these other people that's like passive aggressive and really can't. They are suspect. He'll just tell you right up something, and okay, you may not agree with it. And oftentimes I don't. But other people, they're like what you must say sneaky. They pretend like, oh yeah, everything's cool, but it ain't, and they're deceitful. And I don't go for that. Definitely, because I'll tell you the way I feel. I'll probably be more polished about it, maybe, but but I'm not the kind of person that's going to tell somebody up front, oh yeah, everything's cool, and then go unfriend them on Facebook and block them while they're not looking, and then I'll say, "Ha, they can't tell me anything." See, so that's really no good. They can't even respond. I would never do that. Well, wrath is aggressive anger, while envy is passive anger. That's true, but the envy will lead to wrath oftentimes. And that's why we are encouraged to do an examination of our conscience every day, because you want to think like, should I correct something here? Maybe that wasn't the right approach or whatever it is. It's a very good thing. Now, with these two products, like I was saying with you know what I mean, the losing streak, I was saying they're so similar. These are also similar. So it's expected that they will get mixed up. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying they're very similar. So it's kind of even hard to believe that somebody has their favorite American blended whiskey. Oh, this is my favorite. Because my question would be why? It's like they're all the same. Seagram 7 Crown is a touch above. I'll agree with that. And I've said before, I haven't had any of those three big pure blended, no grain spirits. Well, actually, TX does have some of those, and so does Rebecca Creek. I even saw a spirit whiskey from Rebecca Creek once, but those generally are all whiskey blends. No, what you will call filler. Rebecca Creek, TX, and obviously from Texas, and the Redneck Riviera. I don't remember where that's from, but so I can't just lump them all together, you see, because I haven't had those. So I would expect they'd probably be a higher grade, but like I said, I haven't had them, so I can't really see. Obviously, the Calvert Extra was a higher grade. That was on aroma. I had it because that's pure whiskey, 100% whiskeys in the blend: corn, rye, barley, could be wheat, and it's blended because they call it blended because none of the grains predominate. You understand? It's not 51% wheat, because then it would be a wheat whiskey. It's not 51% corn. It would be a bourbon whiskey, assuming they use fresh barrels charred. But you understand? So, but these that I'm dealing with around here, these are mostly just fillerized. All right. If it was tequila, they'd call them mixed toes. But like really mixed toes. I mean, a mixed toe tequila can't go above 49% filler. These things go up to 80%. And that's why they taste like corn flour, because that filler is probably almost invariably corn distillate. Doesn't have to be. As soon as I say it, somebody might produce a document saying, well, I got documentation right here, very clearly showing that it's wheat distillate. I ain't seen no documents though. I haven't seen any documents to that effect, but I'd love to see the mash bill. But I know that I just think these companies change it up every time they got leftover stuff. Is really what I think. It's not like a hard and fast recipe, probably recipe options, because they bottling it. It's like really low shelf, and I think most people buying this stuff's not really. They're not particularly interested in the the quality. They're mixing it in a very basic way. But that being said, let's try to be correct with it. Now this one has more of a sherry note. Has the corn, certainly, sweet corn, both things, sweet corn, and bourbon has that. But they don't have the charred oak. See, that's where you don't get confused with straight bourbon, which has that various levels of charred oak, some very intense. This one has like that sherry note, which could make sense because blending sherry, according to the U.S. government, they say that that's traditionally used in these concoctions to smooth out, or what did they say, to ensure batch consistency? That's what they said. Make it a little more even. But see, that's telling me right there, see what I'm saying? That it could be that they're mixing up the recipe and they're adding that sherry to kind of, they say smooth it over and maybe like obscure some things. But once again, ultimately, it does not matter because of what the nature of the product is. I've seen some low grade, although some of them taste really good. Some soda pops, it'll say on the label, contains cane sugar and or glucose syrup. And or it might have both or either one. Why would that be? Because that is what they have on hand. And they found that the flavor is minimally different, and the consumer probably doesn't read the label, the ingredients anyway, and they just drink it, no money. These are similar, obviously. Now, there's something to notice. This one says Kentucky blended whiskey. That means all the components are coming from Kentucky. That has to be done. If it's on the label, that has to be the case. They're saying specifically Kentucky blended whiskey. So there's no option. They can't be blending in a little Indiana whiskey. No. But this one, see, is given a catch-all description. Classic Club American blended whiskey. That means the whiskeys could come from anywhere in, well, obviously, America. So could there be some Indiana whiskey coming in to play here? I don't see why not. They already told me on the tour that they're using MGP for their vodka. They buy it in bulk. They don't even distill their own vodka anymore over there in most cases. So they telling you, yeah, we use their stuff. So, but MGP has a good reputation, so why would that matter? All right, it's just they have to be specific on the labels. You see, American and one state. All right. One's higher grade, higher level of straight whiskey. The other one's a lower level. One's age at least 4 years. One's age only 3. But in the final assessment, is it making much of a difference here? I would say no. It really is not making much of a difference, if any difference. And so consequently, what's the rule when you have these products? Shop price. And when you finish doing that, continue to shop price. What will be the only option? I can't think of any. That's what I do with beer. Now, I have specific types of beers that I like for everyday drinking. So I'll shop price there. And then natural ice almost always turns out to be the best product per ounce for my enjoyment. Light beer, I just honestly don't buy that for everyday drinking anymore. I used to, but then I was always like, man, it's so thin, just don't get any real enjoyment from it. I don't hate it. Milwaukee's Best Ice, light. I always used to buy that. It just didn't have enough, even though it was probably, in my opinion, better than the rest of it, its style, but it just still wasn't enough. But I find the natural ice got the character, Gotta watch it. 5.9, you could say, oh, that's nothing. Yeah. Keep drinking them and see if it's nothing. I like the calorie count, 135. That's less than Budweiser, which is a lower ABV beer. So, I mean, even Budweiser is only 145 calories. If you have a big gut, it's not from Budweiser. It's from, going to the Chinese buffet 3 times a week, and then you eat a big breakfast, a huge lunch, and an enormous supper. So, or enormous dinner and then supper. So people just seem, and then they'll snack all day. And then they'll say, I have a beer belly. And I'm thinking, it's probably not. If you drink a Miller Lite, that's probably not what it's coming from. But as the saying goes, the appetite grows with the eating. The more you eat, the more you want to eat. So that requires discipline and all. It required a lot of discipline for me to lose 35 pounds. But I had a feeling I could do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do this. And it won't happen overnight. It'll take a sustained effort. Will involve years, really, and it did. And I did lose over 35 pounds. And when I check my blood pressure, it's low, not low, you know what I'm saying, acceptable. Well, the government is extremist in their attitude, so what they'll call normal blood pressure might actually be kind of low. This is my opinion. I'm not a dietitian or a doctor. Because it kept dropping down the number. And I think that's so they could get people to be scared and buy medicine. There's a big industry, in blood pressure medicine. Yeah. Okay, and that has a lot of side effects and whatever. But so I was doing. I brought it down with just effort, not medicine. I didn't want to really get involved with medication, if possible, and it was possible. Okay, so I'm saying that I think this is the Classic Club because I do kind of recollect years ago or at least a year ago. I don't do these. It takes seems like it takes about a year, 9 months or a year to get back to the class, the style, or I should say the type. So I'm thinking this is the Classic Club. Is it better? Nah. Is it worse? Not really. Not at all. It's just not even really different. It is though. So next year, because look how long this bottle's going to last. This thing will last really at my pace a lifetime. And I just got to keep in mind that sherry note. Sherry. Can you buy blending sherry? I've never seen it. I really don't know what they would be using in blending sherry. I know that Fairbanks has a brand called Cocktail Sherry, and Sheffield has Cocktail Sherry. So, right, you're thinking cocktail, you're mixing things, right? You're blending things. So that sherry is designed for a cocktail. So could that be the type they're using in the blending whiskey? Once again, I don't know, but it seemed like that would work, right? Like it's made for cocktails, which is a blend of thing, and then you're doing it with the whiskey. So yeah. Cream sherry, I think that would be too sweet, right? Could corrupt the product. And then dry sherry could, well, I guess that would work. Okay, but like I say, I will have no training in that. I was talking about steak last night. People were flipping their lid over that. Well, at least they were interested. They were saying, don't you cook that steak like that? Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. I didn't know what a chuck eye was. I know I got them for like less than $8. 2 thick steaks. I figured, what's the risk factor? Even if I ruin them, there's not much risk factor. They look great though. I guess the ultimate answer is do it the way you want to do it, not the way people tell you to do it. But I do take advice, and the general consensus was salt and pepper on either side. But they're saying it just barely cook it. And I don't fool with raw meat. I don't care what your erudite, steak ability is, but I'm going to take that into consideration, of course. So I have two of them. So I'm going to do one in their suggested way, and then I'm going to do one in my kind of experimental way. So I have a control group and a experimental group, so that the steak that I'm going to do my way is going to be, I guess, an insult to the steak community. But if it tastes good, then it doesn't matter. If it doesn't come out right, then hey, like I said, I haven't lost anything. Philip Makovitz says, I found Jim Beam Black triple aged 6 years from 2014. That's bizarre, because I have an 8-year age from about 2018. No, that's not right. Not 2018, 1998. I'm thinking different 8. Yeah, I think it's from like the 90s. That bottle, I don't know where international market got these bottles. They had regular size bottles and handles. And the handle was $32.99. And we said, oh no, that's much lower than it should be. Or a little bit lower. So we bought it because 8-year aged. And well, we kept talking about it. I guess people picked up on it because like that fast, it was no more Jim Beam Black aged 8 years at international market. It evaporated in a few weeks, months. People got the work, but other people might have just noticed it and been like, what? And then all of a sudden they just had the Jim Beam extra age. You know, that one they had. The one they had for 10 years, which some people estimate was about 6 years. Probably varied. I have a bottle, bought it, haven't opened it. So yeah, in the European Union, we have only a 6-year version. Regards from Spain. Oh, hello. Cheers to you in Spain. And it's absolutely amazing. Tastes more like a Knob Creek, very oily and punchy. Isn't that amazing? Europe gets different things. Japan, they got bourbons that are sold only in Japan, but they're made in Kentucky. Like, you can't get it. It's made only for export. Can you imagine? I went to Europe 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, November 2023. I don't think I'll ever go back because I can't stand that plane ride. That I was sitting on that plane on the way back, and I was like, when I get off this jet plane, I ain't getting back on it to go. It's just, I can't take it. I liked Europe, no problem. If I could drive there in a few hours, I would go, But they had so many different whiskeys and beers and wines that you can't find here, and it would be the same brand. It's like, well, I heard of Jim Beam, but you see stuff there. I was like, what is this? And I was amazed, I couldn't try it all, of course, but, and I wasn't about to ship it back, but I just couldn't get over it, especially in Gibraltar. And apparently Gibraltar is a liquor paradise, and a lot of people do a lot of funny stuff to get that. They got a lot of people with fishing boats docking at the docks. I don't know if they're going cleaning their boat, cleaning the fish, and then going to the liquor store and loading up. And I don't know what they're doing, but I noticed that there's a liquor store about every block, and they had the lowest prices I've ever seen, cheaper than Louisiana. I was like, what? And I read people say, oh yeah, that's a known thing. Gibraltar is like a, not money laundering, a liquor laundering. There's just a lot of funny stuff going on there. But these places would open up in the morning time, and they'd be open all late, probably past midnight. And it just was like, you couldn't believe it. It's like mind blowing. And then the beer selection was mine. That's a little territory. in Europe. It's the only territory in Europe, and it's not a country, but a little bigger than I thought. I said, I was looking at the map. I was like, I'll walk around this whole place twice, but no, that didn't pan out like I thought. It was a little more rugged than I had believed. But then I thought I was going to climb to the top of that rock. I said, oh, I can make it up there. And I was like, nah, I'm going to get killed. So I had to shimmy down. Stupid, right? But I did see the apes and a baby. It was so cute. Oh, I made a video. It's on my channel. But tell you what, I couldn't get over that. And then even in Africa, I took the boat, the ferry. It's a huge ship. I call it a ship, but much bigger than our normal ferry. But even at a nightclub in the upper deck, the upper level, you had to have a special ticket to get up there. But I was just like amazed by the beer selection in Spanish Africa. How do you pronounce it? Tauta. I didn't go to Maia, but it's really hard to get there. You're talking about a long trip across the Mediterranean, but I wasn't doing that. But so anyway, these things can be amazing. They're fascinating, and it'll be different state to state. Now you come to the United States, each state got like different distribution. So you say, well, that's all over Mississippi. What's wrong with you? And I say, it might be all over Mississippi, but it sure ain't in Louisiana. It might be all over Texas. Lone Star, good example. Come to Louisiana, you'll never see it. You'll never see Lone Star. Unless somebody had gone to Texas and bought it. But you cross the river into Texas. Come on. Every gas station got Lone Star in any kind of format. You come to Louisiana, you'll never see it. Okay. Well, anyway, the winner is your choice. You choose. You want Classic Club? Fine. You want Beams 8-star? Fine. Is there any big difference? Well, actually, there's just the slightest pinpoint difference. A meaningless difference, I would say, a meaningless difference. But I was able to just barely differentiate. But in a casual sense, no, you'd never tell them apart, I don't think. All right. So thank you, Beam. Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say? Beam? Did that come out of my mouth? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Kentucky Springs Distilling Company. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. For this product. Thank you, I.W.A. Distilling. And just make sure you don't look at the label up here on the neck to find out who really owns it with their phone number on it. All right. If you call that phone number, it won't say, they will not answer and say I.W.A. Distilling. I'll promise you that. But anyway, it's fun. The whole thing's fun. All right. Y'all take care and try to come back for Friday with another taste challenge. And I hope I get it correct. Take care, everybody.